Hello students. In the last class we have discussed some concepts on programmable array logic, and in that we have discussed programmable devices as well as complex programmable devices CPLDs. In today's class let us discuss field programmable gate arrays. So in as there is some evolution that took place in the programmable logic arrays, hence they were used for complex applications now. So while using for such complex applications, mapping of the circuitry on the CPLDs becomes very difficult, and it also makes it inefficient use of resources provided on the chip. So to avoid that, some programmable circuit structure is required, which is based on a smaller programmable cells to implement the logic storage functions combined with the interconnection networks whose connections could be programmed. So for that purpose FPGA are used. FPGA name itself represent that the gates that can be programmed in the field, that is away from the factory where the chips are manufactured, they can be programmed in the field or when they are present in a system. So FPGAs includes array of logic blocks, input output blocks, embedded RAM blocks, a programmable interconnection network, and some of them also include some special circuitry required to generate clock. So let us discuss each and every components separately. So this is the organization of FPGA. You can see here there is input output blocks. These are the input output blocks, and these are the logic blocks. These are the RAM blocks, and then they are interconnected by using these interconnection networks. What are logic blocks? So logic blocks are nothing but they combine to form a combinational or sequential equations, or the basic elements of the logic blocks are lookup tables. They are a single bit wide asynchronous RAMs, and the LUT or the lookup tables address inputs are connected to the inputs of the logic blocks. So inputs of the logic blocks are connected to the LUTs, and LUT determine the Boolean function of the input, or else you can say you can program that logic block by to form a Boolean function by using these lookup tables. So they also contains these logic blocks also contains flip-flops, multiplexers, registers, and all the some combinational and sequential basic elements or some gates. So here is a diagram. You can see this is an example where logic block of Xilinx pattern 2 is shown here. So here the whole part is divided as or sliced as two parts. Here it is sliced as two parts. Each slice contains two lookup tables which is having four inputs. So they have two 4 input lookup tables are there, and then the carry and logic controls. As I already mentioned, lookup table helps in finding the Boolean expressions, so that need to be connected to the or that is needed for the logic operations, and then carry and control logic. So here this is the carry and control logic. These carry and control logics are helps in interconnecting these lookup the logic blocks as well as they helps in interconnection of these logic blocks, and they may be comprising of XOR and AND gates for implementation of adders as well as multiplexers. So and hence the number of connections within the carry and control logics are governed by the programming of FPGA. So here FPGA is programmed to govern the activity of this carry and control logic, and hence RAM memory is required. The SRAM cells are required here. These cells helps in the storage of those programming bits. So this was an example of a lookup table, the logic blocks of a Xilinx pattern 2. So another example is here LB, that is logic block of Actel Pro ASIC 3 FPGA. So as earlier discussed, that was a 3 input logic blocks, lookup tables were there. So to make the logic blocks fine grained, not a relatively complex functions are required in such applications. Logic blocks of Actel Pro ASIC 3 FPGAs are consist of enough gates, multiplexers, and switches to implement a combinational function of 3 inputs or a flip-flop with a set and reset function. So see, they perform a simpler functions. Advantages of these kind of FPGA the logic blocks are small in size. Hence, while designing using a CAD tool, not no part of the device is left unused. So as we know how the FPGAs are a complex designs, they cannot be directly manually designed. Before that, they are designed using a CAD tools. They are synthesized, they are mapped, and then they are automatically routed. So in such applications, while using the CAD tool, so if it is a smaller design, then if it is a small in size, and hence the no device is left unused in the CAD tool. So let us move to the next slide. Here you can see here next part, that is input output block. So the logic blocks are discussed now. Now let us discuss input output blocks of FPGA. So you can see that the figure here. What is the figure contains? Here the input output blocks contains three D flip flops, or you can say memory devices, and then they are connected to two multiplexers as shown in the figure. So there may be some variations between the components from the different vendors. So as there may be some differences in the input output selection of the components and all. So let us discuss what are the components and what are the activities of these components. Select inputs of these multiplexers which were shown in the above figure are programmed to control whether the output is registered or combinational. So select inputs for the multiplexers are selected by using programming only, and the top flip flop or the first flip flop and multiplexers, that helps in controlling the high impedance state of a tri-state buffer that drives the pin and output, and then middle flip flop as well as multiplexers drive the direct output value, and then pull up resistors and pull down resistors which are present at the end of the load or are connected to the load, they are also programmed hence to be connected to find the we can change the resistance according to the system, as well as see output drivers and input drivers are there. Now output drivers or the output tri-state buffers, they helps in selecting the logic levels, that is high logic level TTL or low logic level TTL, and input buffers or input tri-state buffers which are connected to the system helps in finding the threshold voltage levels, and the output buffers are also used to find the slew rates. Slew rates is nothing but the rate of the voltage changes at the output. So this was all about the input output blocks. So as I mentioned, all the devices in the output block were programmed. See, the selection for the multiplexers were designed by using programming, and or whatever the other devices present in the input output block as well as logic blocks were designed, they are programmable. So they are made programmable, so they can be used in a wide range of applications. So next let us discuss RAM block. So this is the next part of this FPGA. RAM blocks in any embedded systems is usually helps to store the processor instructions as well as data upon which it operates. So this is a basic function of any memory component in embedded systems, and hence in many embedded systems we saw that the memory usually input is provided to the processor in the form of a stream of data, and usually chunks of data are processed at once. So chunks of data are processed at once, and in this FPGA, RAM blocks is specially used to store such chunks of data between the processing steps. So this is another function of RAM in this FPGAs, and typical modern FPGAs provide synchronous static RAM. SSRAM is usually used in FPGAs. SSRAM blocks are used which can be programmed either through a flow through or pipelined manner. So RAM blocks are each relatively small in capacity but can be interconnected to form the large memories. For example, if it has a capacity of 18K bits of storage, which can be once again programmed to provide 16K and 16K so 1 bit, and 8K 2 bits, 4K 4 bits, as well as 512K 36 bits. That means each number of multiple program RAM blocks can be combined to form whichever the required RAM we want. if they are a RAM of 16, if 18K bits, they can be combined to form 512 into 36 bits of RAM. And the interconnection between the logic blocks consists of a mix of short and long wires. Usually the interconnection between the different logic blocks, they are connected by using these wires. These wires can also be programmed. So depending upon which the RAM they need to be connected or something, and logic blocks nearer are connected by using the short wires, which are far away from each other connected by using the long wires. So this was all about the basic internal structures of a FPGA. Now, as we all gone through know about FPGA, there are two forms of FPGA different in the way they are configured. So for what are those forms, let us discuss. There are two forms of FPGA differ in the way they are configured. First form, these kind of FPGA, they uses RAM cells to store the configuration information. Configuration information may be the information regarding the selection inputs or information regarding the logic blocks. What are the inputs to give on to the logic blocks, and they may be configuration data, may be the programming of the wires. So all those informations, configuration information, are stored in the RAM. So in this form, so what is the advantage of this kind of form? FPGA can be programmed after the chip has been assembled into the system. So okay, it is depends on programming. The RAM cells are usually programmed here. So now the FPGA can be programmed even the system is assembled, even the chip is assembled in the system. So system can be upgraded after the delivery by storing new configuration information rather than having to replace the chips. So in this, what happens, if you want to upgrade the chip or if you want to upgrade the system, so you, instead of replacing the chip with another chip, you just can change the configuration information through programming. So these are all the advantages of a first form. But the disadvantages of this sum, what are them? So usually static RAM, volatile static RAM are used in storage in case of FPGAs, but when the power goes, the data is left unstored. So for that purpose, an extra memory is required to store the configuration information, and the configuration needs to be stored in a separate non-volatile memory, and a traditional circuit need to be included in the system. So some additional circuits are required along with some non-volatile extra memory to manage the loading informations, loading configurations. So this is the disadvantages of this one. And example, vendors, the most popular vendors like Xilinx and Altera, they use SRAM cells for the devices. As I already mentioned, static RAM are used for device purposes, but a specialized flash RAM are used for storing the configuration FPGA. What is the second form? So in the second form, RAM is not used to store configuration information here. So it uses antifuses to configure the devices. What are the antifuses? The name itself represent antifuse is nothing but a connection or conductive connection that is formed during the program or opposed to be blown. So whenever it is required, it can be connected, or whenever it is not required, it can be blown off. So this is the whole the meaning of antifuse is nothing but a connection. So programming is done using connection, hence storage is not required here. Here the program is performed, but the storage is not required. Here the programming is done for connections. So either inside the FPGA or externally, extra memory is not required, which was a disadvantage of form 1, that is extra memory is required for storage of the information. But here in this form, the memory is not required as the connections are programmed. Device must be programmed separately before the installation in the final system. This you can also call it as a disadvantage, that devices must be programmed separately before they are installed in the final system. So advantages of this kind of form are less susceptible to the soft errors due to the radiations. So these were all about the forms. Now let us go through another concept, that is platform FPGA. So improvement in the FPGA technology or further improvement in the FPGA technology, they became denser and faster, that they were used for applications for where the complex computational performances were done. So some kind of applications are audio and video processing and information encryption and decryption. In such applications, what happens? In order to improve the usability in such kind of applications, specialized circuits that are used. That is, in recent FPGAs have processor cores, computer networks, transmitters and receivers, and the arithmetic circuits. So within the chip, all these components are involved to perform some complex applications like video processing and audio processing. So the platform FPGA is now, the meaning is the chip serves as a complete platform upon which a complex application can be implemented. What is the complex application? That complex application involves processor core, computer network, transmitter and receiver, as well as arithmetic circuits. We know the processes of the functions of these components in any embedded systems or the computer. That is, processor core means the embedded software can be run on the processor core. The instructions of the embedded system can be run by using the processor cores with the instructions and data stored in the RAM. Next, the network connections are also components that can be used to communicate with the other computer and devices. Network connections are used for the communication purpose. And programmable logic as well as specialized arithmetic circuits that can be used for high performance data transforms, or you can also say they used for the computational, to improve the computational performances and required by the application depending upon the application. What are the advantages of platform FPGA? So it, as I already mentioned, it acts as a platform. The name it represents, it acts as a platform for a complex devices which are embedded on the same. So advantages of they are, the amount of circuitry required externally to the FPGA is reduced. So externally to the FPGA, no extra circuitry is required, as the processors, RAM and all the arithmetic circuits whatever they required are already on the platform. Hence externally to the FPGA, no minimal amount of circuitry is required, then thus reduces the overall cost system. You can also say it as NRE cost is reduced here. Then final concept in integrated in programmable logic arrays or integrated circuits is structured ASICs. We have already discussed what is ASIC, as application specific integrated circuits, in the last video that I have uploaded, where they are specifically used for some particular applications. So a structured ASIC is nothing but an array of basic logic elements. So that lies mid between the PLDs and standard ASIC cells. So structured ASICs, these functions lie between the PLDs, that is programmable logic devices, and standard ASIC cells. They are made up of an array of basic logic elements like FPGA. Okay, it is not programmable. The main feature of structured ASIC which makes it separate or away from the FPGA like components is that it is not programmable and does not have the programmable interconnect. Okay, and it is made up of a very simple logic elements like transistors, which are once again connected to form a different gates, or they are to form the different flip-flops and all those things. That means a simple transistors are connected for the formation of complex gates as well as flip-flops. And an FPGA is customized by, usually the FPGA is customized by, as I already explained, the configuration program, by loading the configuration program. But structured ASIC is customized by designing the top one or more layers on the metal interconnection for chip. So over the chip, the different one or more layers of the metal interconnect are formed. So instead of a configuration program as it is done in FPGAs. So here the structured ASICs are differed from the FPGAs as they are not programmed. Since the underlying logic elements, lower interconnection layers are fixed and design effort is also less, that means simple elements are used for designing, hence the overall NRE cost for the customization is much lower than those of a standard cells ASICs. So this was all about the structured ASICs. Structured ASICs are nothing but the one which are not programmable. Here the multiple layers of the metals interconnections are used for configuration, not the configuration program, and then NRE cost of these structured ASICs is very less. So this was all about the today's concept. Thank you.